Good morning, yo, what up? Grateful for another maggot-free day above the dirt. Yes, Jersey Shore, but Jersey Lake, as you can see behind me. This video is called Resisting Resistance. And let me address the haters that are always going to hate first. I am in no way saying that we do not follow our instinct and the conclusions of critical thinking to decide when something is not right for us, and then we make a choice not to engage it. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm qualifying resistance as something completely different. Resistance rises when we intrinsically know something is right for us, is something we need to do, and we resist engaging it, we resist doing it, we choose not to. Not because it's a bad choice for us, but simply because maybe fear, maybe, it's aversion and avoiding because we don't want to feel what engaging will cause us to feel. So it's something we avoid knowingly that it would be beneficial if we did engage. So again, like most issues in our spiritual practice, the issue isn't what we're avoiding. The first issue we have to address is resistance itself. Because what we're resisting is not engaging the experience or doing the skillful action that we know we need to do. We're resisting working through the resistance. So it's kind of like how we turn pain into suffering. Right? Pain is pain. We're all going to feel pain. When we avoid it and don't deal with it, then we suffer. So it compounds it to another level. You have the original pain. You have the pain that turns to suffering. So you got to get through that suffering to even deal with the pain to come out the other side. So it's the same thing with resistance. We can't deal with the issue that we need to deal with until we deal with the issue of resistance itself, right? And this requires, like all spiritual practice, a breaking an attachment to the ego, right? It's the ego that resists. We have healthy survival skills that want to protect us. In this case, it doesn't serve that purpose. It serves as a way we use to in essence, not protect ourselves. It seems like we're protecting ourselves when we don't put ourselves through, let's say, something willfully. But ultimately, it's not protecting us because it's just making the problem worse. It keeps perpetuating it, right? So resistance requires finding acceptance, not in the thing we're resisting, but in resistance itself. We have to accept we're resisting. We have to take that sacred pause and bring our awareness, bring our consciousness to the fact that we have either a stepping stone or an obstacle in front of us. It's our choice. And we're resisting making the choice. And resistance itself is not even aversion. It's being stuck. Like there's sometimes that we do need to not avoid a situation, but maybe not deal with it in that moment because the timing's wrong, and deal with it at a more opportune time. But at the same time, when we're stuck in resistance, we are not avoiding, in the sense that usually when we willfully avoid, we do it with some kind of sense pleasure to make us feel good, to distract us into pleasure or into a temporary superficial happiness that takes the place of all that uncomfortability. But resistance is not aversion. Resistance is limbo. It's being stuck in an uncomfortable position, albeit it might be more comfortable at first than engaging the difficulty we're avoiding. But ultimately we're in limbo, and we're just in samsara, in pain, in discomfort, in anxiety, in frustration, in both emotional and mental states. And we are not doing anything. We're not even avoiding, which I'm not saying is good 99% of the time, but we're not even doing that. We're just kind of screeching life to a halt and screeching our practice to a halt. And because at least sometimes aversionary tactics can kind of in a long way around get us back to where we need to be. You know, maybe we sit on the cushion, maybe we break open a book and read some teachings, maybe we call a mentor or a spiritual teacher. So sometimes aversion can get us back to a healthy spot, but we're not doing that either. So, you know, it reminds me of back in my Buddhist days, not that I'm out of them, but way back in, you know, we're going back like maybe 15 years, but I remember a Tibetan Buddhist teacher he assigned me the job of keeping the altar. Now this altar wasn't some little altar. It was like, you know, 20 feet long, 5 feet wide. It had a million different things on it, and it had a million different tasks involved with it. And I immediately said, no, I don't want to be involved in this ridiculous ritual. I'm not, you know, I don't care about all the stuff on the altar. I'm into practical Buddhism. How can I apply the teachings? I don't care about filling these glasses of water perfectly to the rim. I don't care about this candle being placed here and this flower here, and I didn't care. And I was completely resistant, and I was adamant, I'm not doing this shit. And he kept at it, and he kept at it, and he kept at it. And we had some conversations about it. And finally I realized what he was doing was recognizing resistance in me. He wasn't trying to convert me into believing what other people might believe about taking care of the altar. He was getting me to face my own resistance, which in its own way, you know, was stopping me completely in any spiritual progress. That if I could work through this resistance, I could progress. It had nothing to do with the altar, had nothing to do with changing my mind about why or what I get from doing the altar. It was just to get me to break that attachment to the no. And I realized that, and I started doing the altar and realized that once that resistance was gone, it freed me to see that what a beautiful meditative exercise taking care of this altar could be. It had nothing to do with the ritual or the beliefs behind the ritual, and had everything to do with me being mindfully present for the whatever half hour it took to do from start to finish without letting my mind wander. It was a meditation practice, and it became an important meditation practice for me and a very beneficial one. And I never would have experienced that had I not broken through the resistance to it. So I have a million more stories in my life about, you know, breaking resistance. But a lot of times spiritual practice is recognizing that doing the opposite of what we want to do is usually the better choice. And going against the stream, as Noah says, or going against the grain of our egoic desire is always leading us in the right direction. I'm not saying we do this blindly. We critical think, we assess, we investigate. But at the same time, we need to realize that most of the time, before we can even deal with a difficulty or a problem, we have to deal with the wall we put up in between us and that, with the narrative we add, with the memories we add, with the future fears we add, with everything we think about it, that separation. So resistance ultimately is what causes separation, and spiritual practice cannot thrive on separation. It thrives on unity and interconnectedness and oneness. So I hope that was helpful, and have a grateful, maggot-free day above the dirt. Peace out, Jersey Lake.